up? This is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, we'll be comparing two juicers, 1 and 2, against each other so you guys can learn which is the better juicer, which is the better value, and which is going to produce more yield. Now, before I get into this episode, I want to encourage you guys to support me in my work so I can continue to make these educational videos. I have over 500 episodes on this YouTube channel at this time, basically comparing and contrasting all the different juicers as well as vacuum blenders, dehydrators, appliances that allow you to eat more fruits and vegetables. If you guys appreciate my work, like my videos, you've gained knowledge from my videos, I've helped you with your juicer selection, I would encourage you guys to make your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make these videos, keep my lights bills on, and buy my food and make my mortgage payment. So I thank you guys in advance for those of you guys that will support me, and I want to thank you guys who have supported me in the past. In any case, today we have two vertical single auger juicers, and there's many different style of machines on the market today. My favorite style is the vertical single auger juicer because literally it juices fairly quickly for being a slow juicer or a cold press juicer, and also it handles a nice wide variety of different produce items. Certain kind of juicers may handle one type of produce better than another, but in general the verticals handle them all pretty well. I recommend vertical juicers for somebody that just wants to juice a little bit of everything, but not a lot of any one thing. Like if you said, John, I want to juice straight wheatgrass, while this machine can juice wheatgrass, and I do have a video on that. If I remember, I'll post a link down below. I recommend a single auger juicer such as the Omega NC800 that's going to do a lot better when juicing straight wheatgrass or straight leafy greens, okay? That being said, we're talking about two juicers today, and today we have the Omega VSJ843, and I have to give a good disclaimer here. The VSJ is the machine that I use actually in my home on a day in and day out basis, and I just find it to be the easiest to clean, makes the best yield for a vertical juicer, puts the least pulp in the juice, and just works really well. I mean, I like it a lot. And then we're going to compare that against the Hurom H-AI. When I originally saw videos on the Hurom H-AI, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I want to try that out. And I have an episode where I compare the Hurom H-AI against the Kuvings C7000. Check the link down below for that comparison. And in that comparison, I basically determined the Kuvings C7000 would be a better machine than the H-AI, not only because of the lower price, but also the time it took to juice. Although this, this top accessory feed chute, which makes it self-feeding, you still need to pre-cut the produce into 1-inch pieces, which in my opinion kind of defeats the purpose of using the feed chute, because even in this machine you should be pre-cutting certain produce items, and some of them, yes, I cut into 1/4-inch or 1/8-inch pieces, but cutting into 1-inch versus a 1/4 or 1/8-inch, I don't think that's going to save you so much time. As well as some other things like cucumbers, which I'll be demonstrating, you have to cut in small pieces, whereas in this machine you could cut it actually in nice large pieces with one slice instead of multiple slices. Plus, the way this feeds in, it's going to take longer for you guys to juice. And in addition, this is not a batch juicer. If you want to make a large batch, this is not the machine for you, because literally this hopper holds only a limited amount. This is good for basically a glass juicer. So like if you just want to drink 1 glass of juice, you could throw all the stuff in there, have it running. You could be, putting your makeup on, getting dressed, and when you come back, your juice is done. So I think actually for that kind of person, it's appropriate, so that you don't have to sit here and keep feeding each item in. But then you only have 1 glass of juice. You got to refill the hopper and let it run until it's done again. So that may be a benefit of the Hurom H-AI. Let's talk about the parts that are included. So both these machines come with basically similar parts: the juice catch cups, a pusher, cleaning brushes. Although this does come with an extra cleaning brush. This also comes with an accessory screen that actually is available separately. From Omega, you can buy a core screen, and this is the core screen. It basically has larger holes, so this actually put more pulp in the juice should you want it, or also if you're juicing fruits, this may get a higher yield when juicing fruits. That being said, I haven't really ever found the need to use a core screen on the VSJ843. Now, the other thing that comes with the Hurom H-AI is a standard feed chute top. So you can just go ahead and take this auto feeding assembly off, put on the standard feed chute top, and look at that. You guys have pretty much a similar juicer to the VSJ843. It looks pretty similar. You got the feed chute, although this is a neat feed chute top, I must have to say. This basically has a kind of a funnel that funnels in. Should you have like a lot of cherry tomatoes or something, or grapes, it will go right in. And then you have this feed chute on the top, which actually technically is smaller, and we'll be looking at that a little bit. So you may have to cut some certain produce items smaller, and some larger carrots may not fit through there. But basically, you could convert your HAI into a standard juicer, standard Hurom juicer, with that attachment. And you know, if the price was a good price for the machine, then I would say, you know, that's cool. You could do that, and you have the flexibility. The challenge I have with the Hurom H-AI, among others, is the price tag. So this machine is currently $699. That's a lot of money for a juicer, right? And the VSJ, on the other hand, is $300 less at present time, at the time I'm making this video. So you could almost, but not quite, buy two of these guys for one of these guys. So you're really pretty much paying for the self-feeding feature. And I'm not testing the feed chute actually that I like. It's also clear, which actually I like a lot too. So listen up, manufacturers, make your feed chutes clear so people can see what's kind of going on inside there. I do like that. But we're going to test the auto feeding function of the Hurom H-AI. Now, if you thought that these juicers look similar, you'd be right actually. And actually, what some companies may not want you to know is that these machines are made actually in the same very factory in Korea. You're like, wait, John, the Omega juicer is made in the Hurom factory? Yes, it is made. So this is the same, you know, quality machine that you get with this guy. And the difference for me, the main difference between these two machines and actually all Hurom juicers for that matter is the warranty, right? The warranty on the Hurom juicers, in my opinion, should and could be improved. You know, the warranty, if you look at their website, it says a 10-year warranty. And then if you look, it's a 10-year motor warranty. You know, the motor warranty, which is basically on this component here, in my opinion, is the least likely thing to fail. I rarely see motors fail. I might see safety switches fail. I might see juicing screens fail. I might see other parts fail. But rarely, if ever, do I see the motor fail on any machine. So it's almost like the warranty is not really good for anything, because the motor is pretty much not going to fail. Although it can fail. And then all the other parts, so some of these other parts, the warranty, especially some of the feed chute and the rotating auger and the juicing screen that's actually most likely to fail, only has a 2-year warranty when you buy a Hurom machine, especially for a $699 juicer. 2-year warranty, in my opinion, is a little bit short there. If we go over to the Omega VSJ, you know, once again, the motor warranty is a full 15 years, right? That's 5 years longer than the Hurom warranty. And then if we look at the top set, right, all these juicing parts here, that doesn't have a 2-year warranty. That also has a full 15-year warranty. This is insane. Like, this is insane in juicing. Think if your iPhone had a 15-year warranty, and for 15 years, provided that you didn't drop it or you know, it didn't break because of your fault, you know, Apple would replace it or repair it at no cost to you. And that's what Omega will do. You know, and Omega has, in my opinion, a good track record with handling all the warranty support for my particular customers. And that's another reason why I would encourage you guys to buy from discount juicers. Like, you have me as your liaison. If you buy from me, you're part of the discount juicer family. I want you to be able to juice because I know the differences that juicing can make in your life. You know, how you could lose weight, feel healthier, have more energy, you know, recover over different health challenges that you may be working with, you know, because I've done that myself. I've lost weight, I have more energy, and it's only because of juicing. And I want you guys to be able to juice on a regular and continual basis. And if you buy the juicer from discount juicers, you know, and you're having a problem with getting Omega to respond or getting warranty service from them, let me know, and I will pull some strings. I'll make sure that your situation is handled so that you guys can continue to juice and be healthy, because that's more important than anything else to me than even selling a juicer, is that you guys get on the fruits and vegetable juices. Whether you're going to do the medical medium celery juice, whether you're going to do, you know, carrots and apples like the Gerson program, I don't really care, but I want you guys to maximize the amounts of fruits and vegetables that you guys are consuming in your life. And in my opinion, the juicers are probably the best appliance to do just that. So yeah, we talked about the warranty. We talked about these are made in the same exact factory. Let's go over some of the differences between these two machines specifically. All right, so number one, I want to go ahead and turn each machine on. So if we turn that one on, it's relatively quiet. So I do like quiet juicers. Some juicers have been described as an airplane taking off in the kitchen. Let's turn on the Omega. It's also fairly quiet, maybe a little bit louder. It has this the spinning screen that makes a little bit more of a noise. Now the RPMs on both machines is 60 RPM, so this actually runs a little bit faster than the VSJ that runs at 43 RPMs. You know, is 17 RPMs lower better? You know, I can't say necessarily that it's better. It runs a little bit slower. It's not going to make any major difference, in my opinion, in terms of nutrition that's being created in the juice. The other thing to know is that the motor itself, right? The motor itself in the H-AI is 200 watts, and the motor itself in the VSJ843 is 150 watts. You're like, John, 200 watts, more than 150 watts. This machine's better because it has a more powerful motor. You know, so I don't know that I'd necessarily say that. I'd say that, you know, on one level, the 150 watt machine, if you're running on solar panels, which not too many people do, you know, is actually better because it draws less current, right? This motor, trust me, I've used it day in and day out for many years. Well, not this exact machine, but my machine. And it's worked fine without any significant issues. So it is perfectly well powered, well matched, and has a proper amount of torque to work and do the job. Whereas this one has 200 watts, so is 200 watts better than 150? Well, the 200 watt motor may not be as efficient, but the other thing I think is that because this not only has the standard auger to basically rotate, this also has another specific cutting blade that it has to rotate up on the top housing as well. So this must have a more powerful or more torquey motor to basically do the auger cutting, but also do the cutting from the first stage as well. So I believe that's why you know, there is a more powerful motor in there. So yeah, I guess next what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and compare each juicer part by part, side by side, so you guys can see the differences. All right. So first we're going to start with the automatic feed chute. You know, there's a few extra parts, so that's another con of this machine, is that there are extra parts if you guys are going to use the automatic feed chute. You know, there's extra things you have to clean, so it might take an extra minute or so to clean all these extra parts, maybe even 2 minutes. You have basically this top that must be put in place or this machine will not work. Next you have coming out basically a blade, so this looks kind of like a S blade on a food processor. Basically this blade spins around and cuts up the produce so that you don't have to cut as much before the produce goes into the machine. Next we have this main hopper here, and the hopper basically has 2 holes which allows the produce to drop in. Meanwhile, the VSJ has just you know, the one standard hole where you put everything in manually yourself. The hole actually on the VSJ looks to be larger than either of the holes on the Hurom here. But once again, self-feeding, non-self-feeding, right? Next, let's go ahead and pull out the augers on both machines here. Now, both these augers are the GE Ultimate material, and it is said that it is BPA free. Hurom makes a statement BPA free on their website, whereas Omega does not, although these are made in the same factory. So go ahead and figure that one out. Anyways, these augers look to be fairly similar in design. I mean, I'm looking at them right here, and they look, I mean, pretty much the same. I can't say they're significantly different. They're almost like from the same mold, although if you notice this auger is a little bit fatter. That's because it has these 2 wing tips on the top. These wing tips actually drive the wiping blade on the VSJ843, and the Hurom auger does not have these wing tips because the wiping blade is driven by an additional gear, which makes it harder to clean, in my opinion. The other thing about these augers is underneath. So actually, I do have to say that I do like the auger on the Hurom a little better than the Omega. The reason for that is because underneath the Hurom auger, I can stick my fingers in there. Now this is recessed. This goes inside, if you guys can see my finger going in the auger. And pulp will collect underneath there every single time you guys are juicing in one of these juicers. Completely normal, completely alright. Don't freak out. There's pulp under my auger, John. It didn't get juice. It's alright. That's how the machine was designed, alright? There's basically 100% space underneath here, so you can get a brush in here for easy cleaning. Whereas on the Omega auger, you can put your finger in there, of course, but the problem is there's a shaft that comes out, so you have to get in your finger around the shaft to clean it. Not too much of a big deal, but I do like the auger on the Hurom actually better. Next, we got the juicing screen and the wiping blade coming right out of the machines. And if you guys look at these, it'd be hard pressed to find any differences. I mean, the wiping blades, I'm just holding them right up to each other. They look pretty much similar here. So we're going to go ahead and pull these guys out and compare the juicing screens. I mean, they're about the same height. They're also about the same width, and on the bottom even, they're also about the same. If we look at these, to me, these look pretty much identical in terms of the holes in the screen, the hole size, the amount of holes. I mean, the same material that it's made out of. Basically the little bars inside here that help the grinding process occur. There's 4 of them on each machine. So I mean, pretty much these screens are the same for all practical purposes. Next, let's take a look at the wiping blades. You know, the wiping blade on the VSJ843 is a bit taller, but if you actually look at the silicone blades themselves, they're about the same size and maybe even almost the same part, not quite, but they're pretty much the same thing. There's actually 2 silicone flaps here that you should be washed after every use, not necessarily removed, but definitely washed down. These help to keep the screen clean, help to keep the juices flowing, and help keep the bowl clean as well. And then you have these 2 blanks that just kind of look like something. And then I guess the only other difference is on this wiping blade, there's like the indentation that fits into the auger that makes this spin. Whereas on this wiping blade, there's actually these little teeth or gears on the bottom, you know. I thought it was the best thing when they deleted these gears from the bottom because, you know, juice collects in these little teeth and there's stains and it's harder to clean, whereas this bottom without the teeth are a lot easier to clean. But for some reason they brought the Hurom brought them back in their more recent machines, and I can only think that's because of this design. Sometimes if your auger gets jacked up, the rotating blade will stop spinning, and that to me is a sign that you're not juicing properly and you're backing the machine up so that there's too much pulp accumulating underneath your auger. I would encourage you guys, whether you buy either of these vertical juicers or another one, check my link down below to a video I made called Juice Like a Pro in Any Vertical Slow Juicer, which shares with you guys my tips so you guys can have the best experience with any vertical slow juicer. Another video I would encourage you guys to watch if you guys are getting a vertical slow juicer is the 7 problems with vertical slow juicers and how to fix them. And I'll put a link also down below to that video as well. Alright, so yeah, so basically the screens are the same, wiping blades pretty much similar, but the H-AI screen a little bit harder to clean. Next we got the juicing bowl. So the juicing bowl is coming out. Let's see, the VSJ juicing bowl is a bit lighter than the Hurom juicing bowl. The VSJ juicing bowl will go over first. Basically, this is a pretty simple design. It's just the juicing bowl, and there's a little gasket here that has like a couple different levels of protection so that juice does not get into through the seal and then into the motor, which can damage the motor. There's very few nooks and crannies inside the bottom of this bowl to clean. In addition, on the bottom of this bowl, you have a little silicone flap. You guys can see the flap. I'm moving it in and out right there. This is just kind of hanging on, and I kind of like the silicone flap because you could easily flip the underside over, get it on the top. You could clean easily the top and the bottom of this silicone flap. You should always have this flap pushed in just like that for juicing, and then you will want to pull it out for cleaning, and when it's dry you should push it back in and make sure it's in place before you juice the next time. And then finally on this juicer you have a little flap, and this flap can be pushed up to let the juice out, pushed down to stop drips from coming on your counter, and also to do mixing in the bowl, which I do not recommend because in my opinion that lowers the yield because the pulp will come out a tad bit wetter. Alright, and that's pretty much it. There's no other fancy schmancy stuff on here to fail or go bad. That's pretty much it. Alright, and then on to the Hurom bowl. This is a lot more complex bowl. So number one, you still have that the juicing plug here, plug spout. This is a lot more heavy duty actually than the VSJ843. You know, I have had some challenges with the this spout cap breaking. The plastic's been reinforced on this one, so I do like that a little bit, although this one doesn't kind of move as easily. In addition, on this bowl, once again, pretty clean design, pretty much the same on the inside. Although you have this little gear. I don't know if you guys can see that little gear. It's right there. It's orange. But this orange gear is driven by an additional little you know, gear here, or motor gear. That makes the wiping blade spin. So this is another part you have to clean and clean under They have actually raised this up from the bottom, so at least you could clean underneath it. So that makes cleaning a little bit easier. In addition, unlike the VSJ bowl, which actually has a hole in the bottom, which has a motor shaft that goes through there to drive the auger, this does not have that. This actually has a shaft that comes up through the bottom because they have the spline here, whatever, that the motor shaft goes into. So this is just a double motor shaft, basically. So that's kind of neat. I kind of like that on one level. That means there's going to be less, there's going to be never any dripping on the base here of the H-AI, where that might occur on the VSJ if you're not using it properly. But also that's more bearings and things in here that could potentially fail. And then let's see here. Oh, the one thing I do like about the H-AI that not really the best thing on the VSJ, but it is what it is. The pulp as it comes out, well, the juice comes out the spout cap, or the spout here. The pulp actually comes down and then actually has to take a right angle turn to come down and then come out of where the pulp comes out on the VSJ843. Whereas on the Hurom, the pulp actually just funnels straight down in the pulp collection bin, so there's no right angle turn. So this means there will likely be less clogging and jamming, especially if you're not pre-cutting your produce properly as you should be. That being said, it can still get jammed in the little hole, and one of the challenges I found using the Hurom H-AI with the pulp coming down into the bottom, the pulp catch cup is just too small, and I had to just keep fumbling with it and shaking it down. Otherwise, pulp would actually come out the front of it because it wouldn't actually go down to where it should be. I guess the other thing is there's if we look at the spout cap and we turn that open, you'll see that there's a little blockage point right in there that doesn't allow you to stick your fingers up in there, whereas on the VSJ it actually doesn't have that blockage point. I guess that's good for safety reasons, but it's bad because now this gives you another space where juice could collect. Juice could stain. You get hard water mineral deposits, a little bit harder to clean. Oh, the other thing I didn't talk about is if we set this on the table and we set this on the table, if you look at this, this juicing bowl is raked, so I do like that. Instead of having a level bottom, it's just raked a little bit so that the juice wants to flow out where the spout is, and we're on the VSJ. It's not really raked, although the juice spout is at a lower point, than the rest of the bowl. But it's flat, so often when I'm done juicing, I'll tip the juicer up a little bit just to give it a little bit of rake to just get that juice out. So, it's these minor improvements that have been made over time that actually, I do like. Now, the other thing on the Hurom bowl that I'm not the biggest fan of is right here. They have this flap, which I believe they think to be a good idea, and I guess it depends on how you look at it. It might be good or a bad idea. I'm not the biggest fan, and so this basically allows you to control the pulp, and if you have a lot of back pressure on your pulp, if it's closed, or if you have half pressure, if it's halfway open, or if it's all the way open. So what this does, this basically allows some of the pulp to come out if it's not as wet, which also may mean it puts less pulp in your juice specifically, but also that means you're not getting as efficient of an extraction, if you guys followed that. And now the challenge I have with this is on the bottom. If you guys see, this is on a hinge. So as I move this, there's this little hinge with this little black, which is like that little plug on the VSJ that's just kind of loose. This is on a hinge, so this goes back and forth. I guess you can see that moving there. But the problem I have with this is that when you need to clean it, you could undo it, but the problem is you can't really get underneath here easily to clean the bottom of the flap. Like this other one, literally it just comes out. You could clean the bottom, you could look at the top, you could clean it really well. And this one is kind of just fixed on there. Now you could remove this and then put it back in, but that's just kind of more of a pain, So while that may be beneficial for some people, I'm not the biggest fan. All right. So we're going to go ahead and put that into fully closed, just because this one is fully closed, so we have a fair comparison. Now, actually, the other thing I wanted to look at actually is the unit itself here. So we just looked at the motor itself. Actually, the VSJ, this is the main unit itself. This is the VSJ843 RS, or round silver model, and the motor is directly below where it drives the auger, which is basically right up on top here. So this is a direct connection. As I spin this, it's spinning the motor, which is sitting right below it. Whereas on the Hurom H-AI, if you guys notice, this is where the auger sits, and that actually won't sit on there because there's an attachment. But there's no motor here because the motor's down here. So then there basically has to be a motor and then some kind of gearing system that goes over to drive the motor. So this is not necessarily a direct connection, and it may be a challenge point, you know. Over time, I haven't got any feedback on that, but I'm sure the Hurom engineers designed this properly, so that shouldn't be an issue because there's some nice strong gears driving this. But I do like the fact that the pulp comes out the bottom. Anyways, let's go ahead and assemble these machines. They're super simple and easy to assemble. I would encourage you guys to pay attention to this part because I get at least once a week somebody, John, I got the VSJ juicer, I assembled it and it doesn't come on. The biggest challenge you guys have with you know, most vertical juicers these days is that they have built-in safety switches, which means if you do not assemble the machine properly, it will not turn on. And it's not any fault of the juicer. It's just because you didn't assemble it properly, and for safety purposes, it will not come on. So anyways, super simple, it's super easy to assemble. We're going to go ahead and take the juicing bowl. This sits right in, and it just locks into place. Next, we take the wiping blade and the juicing screen, and this just kind of goes in and just locks into place. So we're going to take this and just put this down, and we're going to spin it around until it basically drops into place. Then we're going to take the auger goes in, we spin it around, and it basically drops into place. And we got to make sure these the wings on the gear fit into the wiping blade. And then we're going to take the juicing top, which then we'll put down into the top. And there's 2 arrows on the back here. And we're going to go ahead and put this, we're going to show you that one arrow. The one orange arrow, we're going to put it to the right side of the arrow in the back. And then maybe this arrow at the bottom is at like, I don't know, what's that, 6 o'clock on the clock. And this one's maybe at maybe 3:30. And we're going to turn this to line up the 2 arrows. If we do that, the machine should properly fit on. Now, just for giggles, I want to see something. Let's see if this other top actually fits. This top almost fits on, but doesn't quite. I think that'd be really cool because I do like that heat sheet there. All right, now let's go ahead and assemble the Hurom H-AI. So once again, the juice catch cup goes right in the bottom there. Then we have the juicing bowl that then sits right on top, right like so. We have, once again, the juicing screen and the wiping blade, and this just basically fits together just like so. We're going to drop that in there, and once again, rotate this around till it seats down. We're going to take the auger, drop that right in. Actually, that assembles a little bit easier than the VSJ. And then on the top of that, we got the self-feeding bowl that once again has an arrow on the back and an arrow on the back handle that you're going to go ahead and put to the right side. Spin that in place, line up the 2 arrows. You're going to then put this cutting blade right down into the top. It's going to set in there. And then you can put this top piece on, turn it to close, and if you assemble it properly, the machine will turn on. So that's how pretty much easy they are to assemble. You guys learned about the different parts, the RPMs, the warranty differences, all that kind of stuff. I think the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and juice the same exact amounts of produce in each machine and show you guys actually how long it takes to juice that produce and also how much yield was produced by each juicer, as well as look at how much pulp was generated. I think this will be an interesting test because these machines have pretty much the same exact juicing screen, maybe vary a little bit in the the RPM of the motor, but have pretty much the same exact auger for the most part. Alright, so now we're all set up and ready to juice, and now we're going to go ahead and do a weigh-in of the produce that I'm juicing today. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and do a weigh-in on the produce to make sure we have an even fight. Over on the VSJ843 side, looks like we have 3.45 3 pounds, 3.45 ounces, and over on the Hurom side, once again, 3.45 ounces. Let's see, going back, 3.45 on both scales. What we have today, we have cucumbers, kale, tangelos, miniolos, ginger, and beets. Alright, so now that we got the weigh-in out of the way, let's go ahead and move the scales out and let's start juicing, all right? So today what we're gonna do is we're just gonna juice how I normally juice in the VSJ. I like to pre-cut the items so that they fit in. We're also gonna be timing this for you guys to see how long it takes. I'm gonna keep that over on that side. We're gonna have the produce here, the timer there, and I guess we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So the main thing is on any juicer, you do have to pre-prepare produce in most instances. Even if it has a wide feed chute, you should pre-cut certain items such as leafy greens and celery to help any vertical juicer along. Once again, check the link down below for my specific tips on that. For the VSJ, what we're going to do today is on the leafy greens, we should cut those up into little 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch pieces so I can just drop them in. They're going to juice without any issues. These long cucumbers, we just have to slice them like long ways, maybe only once, and we can just drop them in there. The beet needs to be cut up in a little bit smaller pieces. The beet or the ginger should be cut up a little bit across the grain or against the grain so that it doesn't get jammed up. And the oranges just could be segmented out and dropped in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit start. And actually, we're going to go ahead and I want to show you guys actually what I'm cutting, how I'm preparing as I'm doing this here for you guys. All right, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and hit start. And we're going to go ahead and process the produce. So basically on these cucumbers, I just basically like to slice them right down the middle, super long. Generally they'll fit in the machine without issue. This one's a little bit fat, so I might cut this an additional time. Right down the middle, super simple, super easy. Maybe we'll cut this guy right down the middle too. Next, we're going to go ahead and take the collard greens. I like to basically just tear them in half once. You could tear them in half again. And then once you have them super small, then we're going to go ahead and take the knife and just slice them up. And my goal is to get 1/8 inch slices, but I will handle if I have 1/4 inch slices. This is like called the chiffonade technique if you are a chef. All right, so we cut that up, super simple, super easy. The beet won't fit in whole. We're just going to cut that in a couple pieces. That would be like 3 pieces right there. The ginger we're going to go ahead and cut across the against the grain and do just a few pieces, and then we have the oranges or the tangerines. Turn the machine on, we're going to start putting everything through. So I like to just put in the cucumbers first and watch how this works. Drop that in, no hands. I mean, look, this is auto feeding, self-feeding. They say this is the world's first self-feeding machine, but this machine really does self-feed. You don't really have to do anything. Now I do encourage you guys to rotate the produce as you guys are putting it in. So we're putting a little bit of each item, and letting it process before putting in the next one. And basically you just have to kind of monitor as things go down in the feed chute. You're going to put the next item in. So once again, here's one of those big fat cucumbers. Look at that. Going right in, 43 RPMs, running without any issue. To save you guys some time, what I'm going to do is we're just going to go ahead and speed this up, play some music for you guys so you guys can watch the process. And we're going to come back at you when we're done. Alright, so as you guys can see, I'm just about done juicing in the VSJ843. Last tangelo going in there. Tamping down the strainer here, or sieve. And looks like it's about 4 minutes and 20 seconds. We're going to go ahead and hit stop. Now I do want to encourage you guys to let the machine run just a little bit more after you're done juicing because it is still working and processing some of the produce in there. If you do turn the machine off too early, then you're going to notice there's a lot more produce left in the juicing chamber that is unjuiced. The other thing I want you guys to do is look down the feed chute. And in the feed chute I'm seeing some produce. So there's some pieces of oranges that didn't get juices. Sometimes I'll turn this off and then I'll try to basically stick this down in there because it looks like it's getting wrapped around the auger. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it back on. See if we get any additional juice out. Alright, yeah, just a little bit more juice came out by doing that, and as you guys can see, we're empty here. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and juice in the Hurom H-AI to see the yield on that. And once again, we're going to go ahead and put this over on this side so you guys can see how I'm going to process the produce to put into the Hurom H-AI. Now basically on this machine I got to cut everything into like 1-inch pieces and put it in the hopper, and all this produce may have to fill the hopper multiple times, so we'll see what happens. And so let's go ahead and hit the reset. Let's go ahead and hit start, and let's start chopping into 1-inch pieces. Alright, I think that's all the chopping off the deal. We'll turn this machine on up. We gotta load it up first. Take some of the cucumbers. Take some of the kale. Take a beet. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of these the citrus here, just peel them off and dump them in there. Put these guys in there, and we put a couple more citrus. It's amazing how much we could actually fit in here. We're probably almost got maybe half the produce in there, but now we're pretty much up to the top. I don't think I could fit anything else except maybe some extra kale. And now we're going to go ahead and put the top on and turn it on. And now we get to have the machine do all the work. Alright? So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and speed this up for you guys to save you guys some time, since I'm going to basically wait until this empties completely, and then we're just going to go ahead and fill up the second batch and then have to turn that back on. Alright, so the Hurom H-AI is just about done. I'm still going to let it drip, but we're going to go ahead and turn this baby off here. Stop. 6 minutes and 18 seconds, so that's approximately 2 minutes longer in the Hurom H-AI to juice the same exact produce there. I mean, it was kind of easy. I mean, I had to do a lot more chopping actually, because the cucumbers I just did a couple long slices for this guy, and this guy had to do a lot of smaller slices. I mean, I personally kind of like using the VSJ actually a bit better. Let's go ahead and turn this guy off. And let's go ahead and tip the VSJ up. Let's see if there's any extra juice. Barely any extra juice pops out. Close the spout cap. This guy shouldn't really need any tipping. If we tip that up, not a lot of extra juices coming out either. Let's go ahead and close the spout cap. Let's go ahead and bring our juices front and center so you guys can see actually how much yield each juicer made. Alright, so first I'm tapping down the sieves here to find out how much pulp is in each machine. And the one interesting thing is the Hurom H-AI made actually a lot more foam than the VSJ. It's in the sieve, and then also actually in the juice. I think I got these sieves fairly tapped down quite well. It's hard to see how much pulp is actually in the H-AI due to all the foam that's surrounding it, but for all practical purposes I'm going to say it's a similar amount. If anything, there's a little bit more pulp created in the juice in the H-AI, but it is not anywhere significant. It could be the same, maybe plus 10%, maybe 20% maximum more. Alright, let's put that aside, but let's go ahead and see which juicer actually made more juice. Alright, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the yield. So on the VSJ side, you guys can see how much foam is in the juice. There's not much. And on the H-AI side, a lot more foam. And this is not even accounting for the foam that was stuck in the sieve. Let's see, let's go ahead and take a look at the yield. Yield here looks like to be right at a little bit over 4 cups, maybe 950 milliliters. And then over on the H-AI side, once again, looks like it's a little bit over 4 cups and maybe like 950 milliliters. I mean, maybe the H-AI made like a little bit more juice than the VSJ by a hair or two, but it's actually fairly close to call. Alright, so as you guys saw, the yields were pretty much the same. I mean, maybe the H-AI maybe made a little bit more than the VSJ843. The challenge I have is that it took two extra minutes, maybe a few extra cuts, maybe less cutting on the kale, but more cutting on the cucumbers. More foam on the H-AI, maybe a little bit more pulp as well. And let's go ahead and try the juices to see if I could taste any noticeable difference between them. I mean, these are both made with our vertical single auger. Maybe this guy was cutting a bit better than this guy because of this cutting step. That's a nice mild juice. Lots of the cucumber in there. The ginger has a little kick to it also. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, they taste about the same to me. I can't say there's any discernible difference. I mean, the machines run basically the same RPMs. Alright, so let's see, what else do we want to look at today? Well, I want to look at the parts you have to clean, because after you're done using the juicer, cleaning, some people hate the cleaning the most. I don't really mind the cleaning on the VSJ. It takes me about 3 minutes. And let's show you guys what you got to clean on the VSJ. So, take out the top housing. You guys can see under the housing. Basically, just rinse this off under water, and you are good to go. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Next, we have the auger coming right out. As you guys can see, this auger is fairly clean. Actually, in this case, there's actually no pulp underneath the auger either. And then if we look at the juicing screen here, you guys can see there's a pulp stuck in the juicing screen. You have to clean out the wiping blade there. As well, there's a bunch of pulp here in the middle of the bowl, and then there's pulp coming out the pulp catch, or the little spout there. So not too difficult to clean. I basically just wipe this down, brush it under hot running water. It takes me about 3 minutes. H-AI, a little bit different story. There's a few extra parts to clean. So number one, you have this this top cover, pretty simple to clean. Next, you have this blade. Be careful when cleaning the blade not to cut your fingers. And number three, you have a lot of surface area on this automatic feed chute housing, which has definitely some pulp in there. Put that up like that, maybe. And then you got this auger coming out. So the auger on the H-AI, a little bit more pulp than the VSJ. Also underneath the auger, there is a little bit of pulp in there as well. We'll try to stick that in there. And then over here on the juicing screen, you see there is some pulp just on the inside, but that's pretty much similar to the VSJ. And then the pulp in the middle of the juicing bowl is pretty much the same, And this pulp is a little bit more moist. You got pulp coming out of the bottom. This is equivalent to the pulp coming out the right angle turn, although this will be a little bit easier to clean out because it's coming straight down. That being said, I did have pulp overflow, even though I was trying to pay attention. That overflowed, onto the table here. So in general, I'm going to say it's going to take you at least a minute or two, maybe longer, to clean the H-AI than the VSJ843. On to the pulp. I mean, the pulp on both these machines, generally cucumbers will leave some wetness in the pulp, so I can definitely squeeze out liquid out of these pulps. I'll be personally pressing this pulp with my pure juicer to get more juice out of the pulp. You could take the pulp and actually feed it back through the machine a second time, and if you're going to do that, I would recommend you guys follow the pulp with carrots. That'll help squeeze out a little bit more juice out of the pulp if you want to get every last drop out of your pulp there. So, as you guys saw, what did we learn? What did we learn today? Well, we learned that both these machines are about comparable in terms of juicing. They made approximately the same yield for the most part, although the H-AI took longer. And if you're doing one batch, you would have saved a little. I don't think you would have saved that much time. You would have saved some cutting and feeding it yourself. Whereas this is truly more auto feeding if you're just doing a smaller quantity. We learned that there's a shorter warranty on the H-AI for the juicing parts by 13 years. That's a lot to give up just to have it auto feed for you. And then at the same time, pay $300 more for the convenience of having to do that. So in my opinion, if it was me, I would get the VSJ843. You're going to save $300. It's going to take you less time to juice. It's going to make pretty much the same quantity and quality of juice, and you know, easier to clean at the same time. I mean, so at the end of this episode, I'm going to declare the winner of this juice off. Clearly, in my opinion, the winner was the VSJ843. Made about the same yield, cost less, longer warranty. It's just the way to go. If you guys want to buy the VSJ843, check the link in the description. Also, the first comment down below for a link directly to the website discountjuicers.com, where we sell this very machine that I use today. If you guys like this video, please sure to give a thumbs up to the video. I'll do more videos in the future using the VSJ and the H-AI. Also, be sure to leave your questions and comments down below. I do try to take a look immediately after this video is posted and answer any questions or comments. But after that, I really can't, because I have one of me and over 500 videos and over actually 100,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel now. So thank you for that. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know what new juicer, what new equipment I'll be sharing with you guys on this YouTube channel, so you guys can eat and get more fresh fruits and vegetables. And you make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my videos come out. Finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, comparing and contrasting all the different juicers on the market so that you guys could buy the right one for you. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.